Logan Harris, a low-key airline CEO, boards his own flight to experience service from a passenger's perspective, only to be met with unexpected rudeness from a flight attendant who doesn't know his identity. What unfolds next is a powerful tale of respect, integrity, and the lengths one man will go to uphold his company's values. How will Logan handle this shocking encounter? Logan Harris wasn't your average first-class passenger. As the founder and owner of Aerovista Airlines, Logan rarely flew under the spotlight, preferring instead to blend in with other travelers. Today, he was boarding his own flight, Aerovista 301, under the radar, ready to experience firsthand how passengers were treated on his airline. With graying hair and dressed in simple clothes, Logan easily went unnoticed as he settled into his first-class seat on the flight from Los Angeles to New York. It was a calm Monday morning, and Logan hoped for an uneventful flight. He often liked observing people, and there was no better way to check up on his own airline service than as a seemingly regular passenger. He'd seen good and bad service on other airlines, but today was his chance to see if Aerovista lived up to its promise of treating every passenger with care and respect, no matter who they were. As he watched passengers find their seats, a woman caught his eye a few rows ahead. She seemed anxious, nervously fidgeting with her carry-on bag and glancing around the cabin with worried eyes. Logan figured she might be a first-time flyer or perhaps had a fear of flying. A soft smile crossed his face as he recalled his own early years of nervous travel. Little did he know, though, that this routine flight would soon become anything but ordinary. Meanwhile, down the aisle came Skylar Rhodes, a tall, stern-looking flight attendant with a knack for making snap judgments. Skylar had worked for Aerovista for almost 3 years, but despite her experience, she held a reputation for picking favorites based on appearances. To Skylar, first-class passengers were only as valuable as their clothing brands or the price of their handbags. Those who didn't fit the mold of luxury, in her eyes, at least, often got a frosty stare or even outright disdain. As Skylar distributed menus and greeted passengers, Logan quickly noticed her dismissive behavior. She'd offer warm smiles and polite nods to the well-dressed passengers, but anyone who looked out of place received only a cold, indifferent glance. When she reached Logan's row, Skylar handed him the menu without meeting his gaze, barely muttering a greeting before moving on to the next passenger, a businessman in a designer suit. The difference was striking. She greeted the businessman with a wide smile and a friendly, "How are you today, sir?" Logan observed the entire interaction silently, feeling a pang of disappointment. He hadn't planned on drawing attention to himself, but the blatant favoritism was hard to ignore. Logan had built Aerovista with the promise that every passenger would be treated with dignity and respect, regardless of appearances. Today, though, that promise seemed a little hollow in Skylar's hands. A few minutes later, as the flight reached cruising altitude, Skylar began serving drinks to first-class passengers. When she returned to Logan's row, holding a tray with coffee, tea, and various refreshments, Logan politely asked for a coffee. "What would you like?" Skylar asked, her tone flat, her gaze barely flicking in his direction. "Just a coffee, please," Logan replied calmly. Skylar rolled her eyes almost imperceptibly, her annoyance barely hidden as she poured the coffee. Logan noticed the slight smirk on her face just as she handed him the cup. Suddenly, without warning, she tilted the cup sharply forward, splashing hot coffee onto his face. "Oh. I'm so sorry," she said quickly, though her tone lacked sincerity, and her expression betrayed a glimmer of satisfaction. "Clumsy me. I must have tripped on something." Logan flinched from the hot coffee, his face stinging from the burn. He took a deep breath, maintaining his composure, and reached for a napkin to wipe his face. A woman across the aisle noticed the incident and handed him a tissue with a sympathetic look. "That was really uncalled for," she whispered, shaking her head in disbelief. "I've never seen a flight attendant act that way." Logan thanked her with a nod, keeping his thoughts to himself. Despite the discomfort, he resolved to wait and observe Skylar's behavior further. He wanted to see if this was an isolated incident or a pattern. As the flight continued, it became clear that Skylar's dismissive attitude extended beyond just him. Other passengers who didn't fit her idea of first class received the same cold, borderline hostile treatment. Meanwhile, she lavished attention on those she deemed worthy. Throughout the flight, Logan's frustration grew. He overheard passengers murmuring about her lack of courtesy and professionalism, and he knew he couldn't let this behavior slide. He'd worked too hard to build Aerovista on principles of respect and quality service to allow one flight attendant's bias to tarnish its reputation. As the plane began its descent, Skylar finally made an announcement, instructing passengers to prepare for landing. Logan straightened up, collecting his thoughts. He hadn't planned on making a scene or asserting his authority today, but after what he had witnessed, he knew this couldn't just end here. When the plane landed and the aisle began to clear, Logan patiently waited for most of the passengers to exit before making his way toward the door. Skylar was standing near the exit, saying polite goodbyes to each passenger, at least, those she deemed worthy of her attention. When Logan reached her, she barely looked at him, offering only a curt nod. "Goodbye," she said flatly, her eyes already shifting to the next passenger in line. Logan smiled warmly, meeting her gaze. "Goodbye, Skylar," he replied. "You may be hearing from me sooner than you think." Skylar blinked, a flicker of confusion crossing her face, but she quickly shrugged it off, assuming he was just a disgruntled passenger. She had no idea who he was, nor did she give his words much thought. As Logan walked into the airport terminal, he pulled out his phone and dialed his assistant, Rachel, a dependable woman who had worked with him for years. He trusted her implicitly when it came to handling important matters, especially those involving employee conduct and customer satisfaction. "Rachel," he said, keeping his tone calm, "could you set up a meeting with the head of HR and the flight supervisor at our New York office? There was an incident on today's flight I'd like to discuss." Rachel responded without hesitation. "Of course, Mr. Harris. Should I prepare anything specific for the meeting?" Logan paused for a moment, choosing his words carefully. "Yes. I'll need a full review of the service records for an employee named Skylar Rhodes. I think it's time we have a thorough discussion on customer treatment and professionalism." Rachel took down the notes, unfazed by the request. She knew how seriously Logan valued the culture and standards of Aerovista. With the meeting set for the following day, Logan knew he had the time he needed to gather his thoughts and approach the situation carefully. This wasn't just about his experience, it was about upholding the standards he'd worked so hard to instill in his company. As he left the airport, Logan felt a sense of determination settle over him. He was ready to address the issue, not as a passenger, but as the owner of Aerovista, dedicated to ensuring that every customer, regardless of appearance, was treated with the respect they deserved. The following day, Logan arrived at the New York headquarters of Aerovista, a sleek, glass-walled building that he had poured years of effort into building. It symbolized everything he wanted his airline to be: modern, accessible, and committed to a higher standard of service. But today, he walked in with a specific purpose: to address the glaring issue he had experienced firsthand. Inside, Rachel greeted him with a stack of reports detailing employee records, including complaints and feedback. Logan scanned the documents, and his suspicions were confirmed. Skylar Rhodes had multiple reports against her for poor customer service. Complaints about her condescending attitude and preferential treatment for select passengers littered her file, yet somehow, she had managed to avoid serious disciplinary action. At 10 a.m., Logan met with Tom Landry, the head of HR, and Olivia Grant, the head of customer service. Both were experienced professionals who took employee issues seriously. They were surprised to see Logan so involved in a single employee's conduct, but they respected his commitment. Thank you both for meeting with me, Logan began, his tone calm but purposeful. I experienced something yesterday on one of our flights that I think needs immediate attention. Tom and Olivia nodded attentively as Logan recounted the incident with Skylar, describing her dismissive behavior, the coffee incident, and her general lack of professionalism toward passengers she deemed unworthy of first class. He emphasized how she had shown blatant favoritism, leaving some passengers, including himself, feeling undervalued and disrespected. When Logan finished, Tom shook his head, visibly disappointed. I'm sorry to hear this, Mr. Harris. Skylar has been with us for 3 years, and while we've had complaints, they've never reached this level of severity. It seems she's been warned before, but it appears those warnings didn't have the desired effect. Olivia added, we pride ourselves on customer service, and this behavior goes against everything Aerovista stands for. We need to address this properly, not only for your sake but for the integrity of our brand. Logan nodded, feeling a mix of frustration and resolve. I understand people have bad days, but this wasn't just a lapse. This was a pattern of behavior, and it goes against the core values we built this airline upon. Tom and Olivia exchanged glances, agreeing with the gravity of the situation. We'll arrange a meeting with her immediately, Tom said. We'll discuss the situation and determine an appropriate course of action. Logan held up a hand, his expression serious. Actually, I'd like to be present in that meeting. This isn't just about a reprimand. It's about reinforcing our commitment to treating every passenger with respect. And I want Skylar to understand that her actions have consequences. Both Tom and Olivia looked surprised but nodded in agreement. They respected Logan's decision, knowing he was fully committed to maintaining Aerovista's standards. A few hours later, Skylar was summoned to the conference room. She entered with a slight air of nervousness, glancing around at the unfamiliar faces in the room. When her eyes fell on Logan, however, her expression shifted from apprehension to shock. Recognition dawned on her face as she realized he was the passenger she had treated so poorly on the flight the day before. Her face paled, and her confidence wavered. Logan met her gaze with a calm but unwavering look, signaling for her to sit. Skylar sank into the chair across from him, visibly uncomfortable, her hands twisting nervously in her lap. Thank you for joining us, Skylar, Logan began, his tone professional but firm. I believe you know why we're here today. Skylar swallowed, her voice shaky. Mr. Harris. I didn't know who you were, she stammered, trying to justify her behavior. I'm so sorry if I offended you. Logan raised a hand, silencing her gently. Skylar, this isn't about who I am. It's about the way you treat people, regardless of who you think they might be. I didn't expect special treatment, nor did I want it. But what I do expect is respect, decency, and professionalism toward every passenger on my airline. Skylar looked down, her face a mix of embarrassment and fear. Olivia leaned in, her tone steady but firm. We've reviewed your service record, Skylar. This isn't an isolated incident. There have been numerous complaints about your behavior toward passengers. We've given you multiple chances to improve, yet it appears there hasn't been any change. Logan's gaze softened slightly, though his tone remained resolute. Skylar, we value every employee at Aerovista, and we provide support to help them grow. But we can't allow poor treatment of our passengers to go unchecked. This isn't personal, it's about doing what's right for the people who choose to fly with us. The room fell silent. As Skylar processed his words, the weight of her actions settling heavily on her shoulders. She had treated Logan like an unimportant passenger, never imagining that her behavior would be called into question by the very man who owned the airline. And now, there was little she could say to defend herself. Skylar's voice trembled as she finally spoke. I understand, Mr. Harris. I didn't realize. I was wrong. I let my personal judgments cloud my professionalism, and I regret it deeply." Logan leaned forward, his expression compassionate but firm. "Skylar, respect and kindness cost nothing. They are the foundation of everything we do here at Aerovista. Our passengers trust us to treat them with dignity, and you've broken that trust." The tension in the room was thick as Skylar absorbed his words. She had hoped for leniency, but as she looked around, she knew her time at Aerovista was likely over. She had crossed a line that couldn't be uncrossed, and Logan's calm but unyielding demeanor left no room for debate. Logan finally spoke, his tone final. "Skylar, I believe in second chances. But in your case, you've had many, and the behavior hasn't changed. The disrespect you showed yesterday wasn't just toward me, it was toward the values we uphold at Aerovista. Unfortunately, I don't believe you can continue with us." Skylar's eyes widened as the reality of his words hit her. She opened her mouth to protest but quickly closed it, realizing that any argument would be futile. She lowered her head, her face flushed with shame. Olivia gently placed a folder in front of her. "We'll provide a severance package to help you transition, but today will be your last day with us." Skylar accepted the papers with a trembling hand, her voice barely above a whisper. "Thank you, Mr. Harris. I'm sorry." Logan gave her a slight nod, his gaze unwavering. "I hope this experience serves as a lesson, Skylar. Every person deserves respect, and professionalism should never be compromised." With that, Skylar stood up, casting one last uncertain look around the room before exiting quietly, leaving her career at Aerovista behind. As the door closed, Logan felt a sense of relief. He had done what was necessary, not just for himself but for every passenger who deserved fair and respectful treatment. Tom and Olivia sat quietly, acknowledging the gravity of the decision. Logan turned to them, his tone softer now. "Thank you for your support in this. It's never easy, but it's the right call for our customers and our team." They nodded, each of them feeling a renewed sense of commitment to upholding the values that made Aerovista a place of integrity and respect. Logan left the building with a quiet satisfaction, knowing he had taken a stand for the very principles on which his airline was founded. As Skylar left the conference room, her mind was spinning. The shock of what had just happened weighed heavily on her as she walked through the quiet corridors of Aerovista headquarters. She had come face to face with her worst nightmare, being dismissed in front of the airline's owner for a behavior pattern she'd refused to acknowledge. The reality of losing her job settled in, and with it came a rush of regret and self-reflection she hadn't anticipated. In the days that followed, Skylar found herself grappling with the consequences of her actions. Losing her job at Aerovista was more than just the loss of a paycheck, it was a wake-up call. She replayed the events on the plane, remembering each moment she had looked down on passengers she deemed unworthy of first-class treatment. Her own arrogance had led to her downfall, and the sting of regret was difficult to bear. Skylar's dismissal soon became a topic of conversation among Aerovista employees. Word spread quickly through the company grapevine, with staff members murmuring about how Logan Harris himself had taken swift action to ensure that the airline's values were upheld. Employees were both surprised and impressed by Logan's hands-on approach. Knowing that their CEO cared deeply about maintaining a respectful and inclusive environment for all passengers. Meanwhile, Logan returned to his day-to-day responsibilities at Aerovista with a renewed sense of purpose. Skylar's dismissal had not been easy, but he felt confident it was the right decision. He had built Aerovista on principles of respect, dignity, and equal treatment, and Skylar's behavior had been a direct affront to those values. But Logan wasn't satisfied to simply handle the issue on a case-by-case basis. He wanted to ensure that Aerovista's employees fully understood and embraced the values he held dear. After the incident, Logan met with the leadership team and HR to discuss implementing additional training programs focused on empathy and customer service excellence. His goal was to reinforce the importance of treating every passenger with the highest level of respect, regardless of their appearance or background. This isn't just about customer service, Logan explained to his team. It's about integrity. Every passenger who steps onto an Aerovista plane should feel valued, no matter who they are or where they come from. To Logan's surprise, his leadership team responded enthusiastically. Many of them shared stories about passengers who had been overlooked or dismissed by staff members based on superficial judgments. The leadership team worked with HR to design an updated customer service training module that emphasized empathy, patience, and respect as core values. This module would be mandatory for all employees, from entry-level crew members to management. Meanwhile, the story of Skylar's dismissal had attracted the attention of the public after a passenger who witnessed the coffee incident posted about it on social media. The post quickly went viral, capturing the public's fascination with the story of a CEO who had personally intervened to ensure a flight attendant's disrespectful behavior was addressed. The comments were overwhelmingly positive, with people praising Logan's dedication to his company's values and his willingness to take decisive action to protect his brand's reputation. Finally, a CEO who stands up for the little guy, one commenter wrote. Respect to Logan Harris for showing that everyone deserves kindness, regardless of appearances, another commented. Within days, Logan's email inbox was flooded with messages from people sharing their own experiences of being mistreated or overlooked in similar situations. Many of them expressed gratitude for Logan's actions, saying that they felt validated by his response to the situation. Among the emails, one stood out. It was from a former Aerovista employee who had once worked with Skylar. The former employee thanked Logan for his commitment to Aerovista's values, sharing how she had also experienced Skylar's unkind behavior but had felt powerless to speak up at the time. Her words struck a chord with Logan, reinforcing the importance of addressing problems within the company head-on rather than allowing toxic behavior to fester. Logan took some time to respond personally to the former employee, expressing his appreciation for her message and encouraging her to always speak up against unfair treatment in any workplace. He hoped that this incident would inspire his entire team, past and present, to hold themselves to higher standards and feel empowered to act when they saw behaviors that didn't align with the company's values. Despite the overwhelmingly positive response, there was a small part of Logan that hoped Skylar had learned from the experience. He had no personal vendetta against her, but he genuinely wanted her to reflect on her behavior and grow from the mistakes she had made. He believed that everyone deserved a chance to learn from their failures, and though she wouldn't continue at Aerovista, he hoped that this experience would leave a lasting impact on her life. A week after Skylar's departure, Logan received a letter in his office. It was from Skylar. With a deep breath, he opened it and began to read. Dear Mr. Harris, I want to thank you for giving me the opportunity to work at Aerovista. I know I've made mistakes, and I'm sorry for the way I treated passengers and for disrespecting the values of your airline. Looking back, I realize that I let my personal biases cloud my judgment, and I failed to see the impact my actions had on others. Losing my job was a hard pill to swallow, but it forced me to reflect on my actions and reevaluate my approach to my work and to people in general. I can see now that my behavior was not only unprofessional but hurtful, and I deeply regret that it took this experience to make me understand the importance of respect and empathy. Thank you for holding me accountable. I intend to work on myself and make sure that this lesson stays with me wherever I go. I am sorry if I ever tarnished Aerovista's name, and I am grateful for the opportunity you gave me. Sincerely, Skylar Rhodes. Logan folded the letter thoughtfully, feeling a sense of closure. Skylar's words were genuine, and it seemed that she had truly taken his message to heart. Though she had been let go, Logan hoped her newfound awareness would guide her in future endeavors. Skylar's story served as a reminder to everyone at Aerovista that integrity and respect were not negotiable. Logan knew that his decision to intervene had set an example for his entire team, reinforcing the idea that no one, not even the owner, was above upholding the company's values. For Logan, the experience was not just about addressing a problem, it was about strengthening the culture he had worked so hard to build. Aerovista would continue to be an airline where respect and dignity were as essential as safety and reliability. And while one person had fallen short, the ripple effect of her departure had sparked a renewed commitment to those values across the entire company. After the incident with Skylar, Logan became even more involved in Aerovista's daily operations, wanting to ensure that his vision for the airline was truly embedded in the company's culture. He wasn't content with simply enforcing rules, he wanted Aerovista to become a place where respect and empathy were woven into every aspect of the business. The new customer service training program, which focused on empathy, respect, and situational awareness, was officially launched a few weeks after Skylar's departure. It was a comprehensive module designed to equip all employees, from flight attendants to corporate staff, with the tools to interact with passengers compassionately and fairly. On the first day of the training, Logan decided to visit one of the sessions in person. He slipped into the back of the room as the session began, observing quietly as the instructor led the employees through various scenarios, some of which were directly inspired by the incident with Skylar. They covered everything from subtle biases to recognizing when passengers needed assistance, regardless of their appearance or background. One scenario, in particular, struck a chord with the employees. It involved a seemingly ordinary passenger who requested a simple drink, only to be ignored by the flight attendant, who prioritized those with designer clothing and high-end luggage. Logan saw the shift in the employees' expressions as they recognized the parallels to Skylar's behavior. He could tell that they were beginning to understand the damage that such biases could cause, not only to individual passengers but to the airline's reputation as a whole. After the session, Logan spoke briefly to the employees. "I want all of you to know that you're here because we trust you to uphold the values of Aerovista. This training isn't just about following a script or being polite, it's about genuinely respecting every person who chooses to fly with us. You're not just representatives of an airline, you're the reason our passengers feel valued and respected." The employees responded warmly, many of them thanking Logan for the changes he had implemented. For some, it was a reminder of why they had joined Aerovista in the first place, drawn to its reputation for treating both passengers and employees with fairness and kindness. Logan left the session feeling hopeful, confident that the new training would help prevent incidents like Skylar's from happening again. As the program continued, feedback from passengers improved noticeably. Aerovista's customer service ratings began to rise, and passengers started leaving more positive comments about the warmth and attentiveness of the staff. Logan received emails and letters from passengers who felt they had been treated with an extraordinary level of care, many of them noting the difference in how Aerovista's employees handled their needs. One email came from a single mother traveling with her young son, who had an unexpected medical issue mid-flight. She praised the flight attendant who had gone out of her way to ensure they were comfortable and reassured, making the experience much less stressful. Another letter came from an elderly couple, grateful for the special attention they received despite traveling in economy class. They described how Aerovista's staff treated them like family, a phrase that resonated deeply with Logan. But Logan's dedication to Aerovista's standards didn't stop at customer interactions. He realized that to truly embody the values he preached, he needed to ensure his team was also well supported. He worked with HR to implement new programs aimed at helping employees with personal development and mental well-being, including counseling services and career growth workshops. Logan knew that a team that felt valued and respected would, in turn, pass that respect on to the passengers they served. Among the initiatives was a mentorship program that paired new hires with experienced staff members, creating a support system within the company. Employees began to feel more connected to one another, sharing a common purpose that went beyond just providing a service. They were motivated to uphold the values Logan held dear because they knew he cared deeply about each of them. One day, while going over feedback reports, Logan received a call from Rachel, his assistant. "Logan," she began, her voice carrying a hint of excitement, "there's someone here to see you. She said she used to work for us, and she wanted to stop by personally to express her gratitude." Curious, Logan agreed to meet the visitor, who turned out to be one of the former Aerovista employees who had witnessed Skylar's behavior on previous flights. She was a young woman named Leah, who had left the airline earlier in the year to pursue a new career. She was holding a small gift bag as she approached Logan, a warm smile on her face. "Mr. Harris, thank you for taking the time to see me," Leah said, her eyes filled with gratitude. "I just wanted to let you know how much I admire the changes you've made since that incident with Skylar. I saw firsthand how difficult it can be when team members don't share the same respect for others that you have worked so hard to instill here." Logan nodded, smiling gently. "Thank you, Leah. I'm grateful that you reached out. I hope Aerovista left a positive impact on your journey, despite the challenges you faced." Leah handed him the gift bag, her voice softening. "It did, and I'll always appreciate that. I wanted to give you this as a small token of my gratitude, just something to say thank you for making Aerovista a place that truly values respect and integrity." Inside the bag was a framed quote that read, "Kindness and respect cost nothing, but their impact is priceless." Logan felt a surge of appreciation, touched by Leah's gesture. He knew that this message represented the very foundation he'd worked to build for Aerovista. It was a reminder that small acts of respect could create a lasting legacy, both within the company and in the lives of those it touched. As Leah left, Logan hung the framed quote in his office, a constant reminder of his commitment to Aerovista's values. The words resonated with everyone who saw it, and it quickly became a motto that employees embraced as they went about their daily tasks. Over the following months, Aerovista continued to grow, not just in revenue but in reputation. The story of Logan's intervention and his dedication to treating every passenger with respect had become widely known. People saw Aerovista not only as an airline but as a symbol of integrity in an industry often criticized for impersonal service. The changes Logan had implemented strengthened Aerovista's identity, cementing its place as an airline people trusted. Passengers felt that when they flew with Aerovista, they were more than just ticket holders, they were respected guests, each one valued for who they were. For Logan, the entire experience with Skylar had reinforced a powerful truth, that the core of a successful company was more than just profits or efficiency. It was built on the strength of its people and the values they upheld. And Logan was determined to keep those values at the heart of Aerovista, knowing they would continue to ripple outward, touching lives in ways he would never fully see. Months after implementing the changes at Aerovista, the transformation within the company was undeniable. The employees not only embraced the new customer service training but carried its message with pride. Logan could feel the difference each time he interacted with his team. A genuine respect and enthusiasm had taken root, creating a culture that aligned with his vision. What started as a response to Skylar's behavior had blossomed into a lasting legacy, making Aerovista an industry leader not just in service, but in integrity. Logan was humbled by the positive feedback that poured in from passengers. One letter, in particular, moved him deeply. A man named James, who had recently flown with Aerovista, wrote to describe his experience. "Dear Mr. Harris, I want to thank you for the experience I had on my recent Aerovista flight. Traveling has always been difficult for me due to my disability, and I usually face many obstacles, from seating to assistance. But on your airline, I was treated with dignity from start to finish. The staff went above and beyond, helping me board and settle comfortably, and even checked on me throughout the flight to make sure I was okay. For the first time in years, I felt more than just a passenger number, I felt like I mattered. You've created something special here, and I'm grateful to have been a part of it, even if just for a few hours. Thank you, truly. Sincerely, James Mercer. Logan sat back after reading James's letter, a warm sense of pride filling him. This was exactly what he had hoped to achieve, an airline where every passenger felt valued. James's story reminded him that the impact of respect and kindness went far beyond individual interactions. It touched lives in ways that echoed long after the flight had landed. Inspired by the feedback, Logan decided to take things a step further. He arranged for a special recognition program to celebrate Aerovista employees who exemplified the company's values. Each month, a team member who demonstrated exceptional kindness, empathy, or integrity would receive an award, along with a personal note from Logan himself. He wanted his employees to know that their efforts mattered, that they were seen and appreciated. One month, the award went to Sarah, a young flight attendant who had gone out of her way to comfort a nervous child flying alone for the first time. Another month, it went to Jackson, a baggage handler who had worked tirelessly to locate a misplaced wheelchair for an elderly passenger, refusing to leave his shift until it was safely delivered. These stories uplifted the entire company, reinforcing the message that their work had a meaningful impact. Logan's reputation as a CEO who genuinely cared for both his employees and customers quickly spread beyond Aerovista. Other airlines took note, and Logan found himself invited to speak at industry conferences, where he shared his philosophy on running a values-driven airline. He spoke about the importance of empathy in an industry that often prioritized efficiency over personal connections, urging other leaders to rethink the way they treated both passengers and employees. During one of these conferences, a reporter approached him for an interview. "Mr. Harris, Aerovista has become a beacon of respect and empathy in the airline industry. What inspired you to take this approach?" Logan thought for a moment, recalling the day he had boarded that fateful flight as an ordinary passenger, only to witness Skylar's dismissive behavior. "It's simple, really," he replied. "Everyone deserves respect. Whether they're a CEO or someone just trying to make it through the day, every person has inherent value. When we acknowledge that, we create a better experience for everyone involved." The interview was widely shared, and Logan's words resonated with people across the industry. Soon, passengers from all over began choosing Aerovista, drawn by the stories of kindness and integrity that defined the airline. Aerovista was no longer just an airline, it had become a movement, symbolizing respect and empathy in an often impersonal industry. One day, as Logan was reviewing customer feedback, he received an unexpected visit. A former Aerovista employee, someone he hadn't seen since the early days of the company, stood at his office door, a look of pride and admiration on her face. "Mr. Harris, I just wanted to say thank you," she began. "When I worked here, I always felt valued. The culture you built has left a mark on my life, and I'm grateful for the lessons I learned at Aerovista. It taught me that respect goes beyond any job title, it's a way of life." Logan smiled, feeling a deep sense of fulfillment. "Thank you for sharing that. It's people like you who make Aerovista what it is today." As she left, Logan gazed at the framed quote Leah had given him, which still hung prominently on his wall: "Kindness and respect cost nothing, but their impact is priceless." He knew that this philosophy would continue to guide Aerovista, ensuring that its legacy of respect would endure. That evening, Logan took a moment to reflect on the journey that had brought him to this point. What began as an ordinary flight had led to a profound transformation, not only within Aerovista but within himself. He had come to understand that leadership was about more than just managing people, it was about inspiring them, helping them see their worth, and challenging them to uphold a standard of kindness and respect. As he looked out over the city from his office window, Logan felt a sense of peace. He knew Aerovista would continue to grow, that it would be a place where every passenger, every employee, felt they belonged. And he felt proud knowing that, together, they had built something much larger than an airline, they had built a community of respect, one that would carry forward long into the future.
Don't forget to like and subscribe to our YouTube channel so we can keep bringing you the best stories.